We're not going to walk in there and grab a grandmother out and then kick them out. We're not going to. I think you have to be realistic in your indignation.
I just want to make sure I understand. Is he still the most anti-immigrant candidate?
I think of the four of us, yes.
Go ahead, Governor.
That's simply inexcusable. That's inexcusable. And actually, Senator Marco Rubio came to my defense and said that ad was inexcusable and inflammatory and inappropriate. Mr. Speaker, I'm not anti-immigrant. My father was born in Mexico. My wife's father was born in Wales. They came to this country. The idea that I'm anti-immigrant is repulsive.
Well, just a few shots from last night's GOP smackdown in Jacksonville. And when the dust settled, Mitt Romney was left standing. Make no mistake, we'll call it Romney's revenge. After more mild performances in recent debates, Mitt took aim at Newt on everything from attack ads.
Wouldn't it be nice if people didn't make accusations somewhere else that they weren't willing to defend here?
Okay. To Gingrich's moon colony idea.
If I had a business executive come to me and say they wanted to spend a few $100 billion to put a colony on the moon, I'd say you're fired.
No surprise. No surprise that according to a new Quinnipiac poll, Romney has opened up a 9-point lead here in Florida going into next Tuesday's primary. In-Trade, meanwhile, has Romney's odds of winning up to 92%. That's the highest he's been running. And somehow we were able to convince the entire Friday mega panel inexplicably to make the trip to South Beach in Miami. Ari Melber, Crystal Ball, and Torre. Is Mitt good to go here?
Mitt's looking a lot stronger here. It's very easy to be tough when you're punching up and the person's trying to avoid getting into an entanglement. Now they're brawling, and Mitt showed that he can deliver a negative. He can go at him with facts. He can go at him with criticism. Newt Gingrich has a very big, soft underbelly, and it was repeatedly punctured last night.
Literally and figuratively.
That was a figurative statement of political speech, Dylan.
Okay. Crystal, your thoughts?
Well, you know what was dramatic is there were two debates this week, right? There was Monday, where Mitt was good, and he clearly showed up wanting a fight as well, but it was like his lines were very rehearsed. He laid them all out at the beginning, and that was kind of it. And Thursday, he just came out ready to rumble, and I kept waiting for Gingrich to get his momentum, to get his,
bring out that lizard,
his righteous indignation that he is so good at, and it just never happened. He blew it. I mean, this week he just blew it. There's no other way to put it. His entire campaign has been dependent on these debates, and he was caught completely flat-footed from the very beginning.
Look, this race has been so topsy-turvy. I wouldn't say it's over and Mitt's good to go. There's probably several more chapters to go. This electorate still is not ready to get married to Mitt Romney. They're still having problems. And I, for one, perhaps I'm speaking for the... They're getting engaged, but they're a reluctant bride being dragged down the aisle, calling their old boyfriend, "Are you still interested in me?" But as a person, as in the media, perhaps as a Democrat, I really wanted to be Newt against Obama.
But that's
for
just
so many
for your
reasons.
Personal entertainment.
Well, it's an entertainment. It's a theater value. There's more narrative. There's more subtext. It'll be a more interesting race. It'll be more WWE. Way better than Romney against Obama.
Here's the thing I think. Because Romney does have the credibility of understanding the function of the financial system and the tax code. In fact, he is a tutorial on how to exploit the financial system and the tax code. It puts him in a very interesting position, and he did come out very explicitly in Florida, unlike any other political candidate, and say we have to restructure on the banking sector. We actually have to write down the debt. The other thing that we've been hearing from Romney is that we need to deal with China on the trade issue, which is another encouraging sign. Whether, again, just for the debate itself, I talk about the debate America deserves. Well, for my money, that is the debate America deserves. And an even more encouraging sign, one of my favorite villains of the past 4 years, our Treasury Secretary, Tim Geithner, at the World Economic Forum this week in Davos, weighing in on the issue of China and how they are affecting investment in our country. Take a listen to the Secretary of the Treasury in Switzerland.
China does present a really unique and formidable challenge to the global trading system. It's very important that we get China to move on comprehensively on that front, not just on the exchange rate, but on dialing back those set of subsidies and distortions. I think they're going to have to do it. We'd like them to do it faster and harder in a more compelling way.
Again, I've been one of the greatest critics, as we all know, but between the president's Treasury Secretary coming out and addressing the issue with China, between Mitt Romney coming out and being honest about the fraudulent nature of the accounting in the banking system, are we getting closer to the debate we deserve?
Well, and Secretary Geithner's language echoed some of the language that the president used in the State of the Union, so there's no question there's been at least a rhetorical shift. They're setting up the Trade Enforcement Investigation Unit, so we'll see what comes out of that. But I want to be really optimistic here, because I will say, I think you're right. I think the Republican candidates have in some ways pushed the president to talk about this issue when he hasn't really in the past. And I think the Republican candidates are responding to the American people and the American people's concern over what's going on in China. So I see this as a great example of our political system actually working to force a dialogue.
Because the voice of the electorate is ultimately pushing the politicians.
Right. And that's an incredibly encouraging thing.
Go ahead.
I want to see, let's talk, I want to see more action. We're getting killed in the currency issue. We're getting killed in the tariff issue. There's 30 million American workers who are getting killed by all these issues, who aren't working, getting killed by all these issues. I'm tired of being bullied by China. I want a more equal situation.
Your thoughts here on whether the rhetoric, as it moves in the direction of solution, are we ready, and is the country ready to figure out how to solve the China trade issue?
I think there's a very important distinction you drew between a Romney-type debate and a Gingrich-type debate. Gingrich talks a lot about American exceptionalism, and there's no content there. It's just him talking. It's just trying to sound strong without there being any content. And what Romney's talking about, I think, fits into the conversation on the Hill, where Chuck Schumer has a bill about floating currency, where there are real debates about the trade-offs there and how tough you want to get on China in trade policy and in the treatment.
And more importantly, how you do it. The issue with solving, whether it's the housing issue or the trade issue, when you get to the altar, is not what you need to do. The question is, can you do it in a way that has a graceful enough progression that making the change is not so disruptive? Because we are so dependent on the cheap credit. We are so dependent on the cheap imports that as we make these changes, you don't want to cure cancer with a knife. You want to actually have a plan to do it.
But when Romney talks about finance and banking, these sort of issues, I think about Bain. And that's going to be the bane, B-A-N-E, of his existence, the thing that makes the voters not want to support him. He's the 1% of the 1%. He paid 14% of taxes. If you went to a restaurant and left that as your tip, the waiters would be mad at you.
The only thing that I will say, and I have no idea what will happen, but were Romney to come out and say, listen, this needs to be changed, which I don't know that he'll do that. But if he was to come out and say, this needs to be changed, would be the only way that he could turn the negative that he currently has into a positive.
Well, he'll probably do a poll and find out what the most electorally advantageous position would be, and then he'll do whatever that is.
Don't blame me for being successful. I'm tired of hearing that from him.
One thing I want to throw out there, was it Donald Trump that introduced this initially into the debate?
The trade issue. No, he did that, and that was the one thing that I gave him a tremendous amount of credit for the entire time, was Donald Trump is very explicit about the fact that we're not dealing with China. It's nice to see Mitt Romney there, and more importantly, it's nice to see the president there in the State of the Union, because he's the president. That's why I say more importantly. And it's nice to hear from the Secretary of the Treasury at a gathering of power in Switzerland, starting to echo that rhetoric. I'm with you. We need to see the action. It's great. You guys look sensational, by the way.
This is also a town of cheap credit.
Yeah,
so we're in the right place to talk about cheap credit.
Guys make it
hard to pull us down here to convince us to come.
It's difficult, but you guys do make the Delano look good. I'm sure they appreciate it. Thanks for coming down, guys.